Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so I cannot see who is in the live. My setup doesn't allow me to see that. So if you are here, please indicate in the chat. Say hi, Arid developer. Hi, Mama. Just let me know that at least one person is in the room. As long as one person is in the room, I'm going to start. All right. And others can join as they can. I guess I should introduce myself. For those who don't know me, I am Arid developer. For those in the Tech Lords Slack community, I am affectionately called Mama. So this is Mama. Hello. Wonderful. Okay, good. IT, forgive me if I'm not saying your name correctly. I see you in the chat. So I know I have at least one person. So let's get started because we have quite a lot to cover and not all the time in the world. So we are going to be covering Git, okay, and GitHub. This is not an extensive cover. Princess, how are you? I see you there. This is not an extensive lesson, okay? So I want to say that I just want to get you, my goal is to get you to where you can at least have a foundational understanding of Git and then have your projects on GitHub, okay? YouTube is a wonderful resource. There are so many lectures if you want to go deeper into Git, deeper into the different commands and all of that. So because if I do that, we'll not have time for anything else, okay? So we're going to cover that. And then I'm actually going to start with terminal navigation, okay? Because in the Slack, I saw that some of you had a little trouble with that. So I'm actually going to start with that before we actually get into the Git and GitHub. And then if we have time, I will try to touch a little bit on bash scripting. Now, I don't have access to the ALX curriculum that you all are following. So as far as the bash scripting, I will do it in a general way. It may not be like, exactly matching what you're doing in class, but if we get to it, I will show you in a general way. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So this here is my terminal. Now, I do have to say I am on a Mac. I know many of you have Windows. I'm not sure what you are using on your Windows machine for a terminal, but I do want to recommend a utility called, where is it now? 1 second. Aha. I want to recommend a program called Commander. That's actually how it's pronounced. CMDER. Okay. It's a sort of terminal app for Windows. All right. So if you have what you're using already and it's making you happy, you can ignore this advice. But if you've not really quite settled on whatever terminal you have access to, I highly recommend Commander. Just Google this CMDER and download it. I believe it's free and it gives you like a terminal-esque, a program for running your commands. All right. Okay. So I'm on Mac. So let's talk about file system navigation. Okay, just briefly. Now we are all used to the GUI. You know what they call a GUI, graphical user interface, GUI. Okay, James, you're on Linux. Okay, all right. So we are all used to GUI. GUI is the graphical. That is when you look at your laptop, what you see. That's the GUI. All right. So for example, this is my home folder. You see how it says Arit Amana at the top. This is my home folder. So I have my applications folder. I have a folder called children's stuff. I have a folder called important scripts. This is what we are used to. Okay. So if I wanted to enter, for example, pictures of me folder, okay, I would double click on the folder and it takes me into the folder and you can see all the pictures. Okay. I can navigate back and I come back to the Arit Amana directory or folder. That's what we are used to, whether Mac or Windows. Okay. If you want to view the contents of a folder, you double click into it and you see the content. Okay. Now let me go through how you do that on the terminal. Okay. Because a number of you struggled with this. That's why I want to cover it. Okay. So let's keep this. Let me see how I can do this. Let me keep this here. Okay, okay. So let's keep this on this side here. I know my head is down there. So let's keep this here. And then this is now the terminal. Okay, so we're going to do it side by side. Okay, so you see here, I am in my, that is in the GUI, I am in Arit Amana folder. Okay, over here, you see the same Arit Amana here. So this is the terminal. Okay, this is the terminal. And whatever, this could be different for you, okay? But in the prompt, this is what you call the prompt, you will typically see evidence of where you are currently standing, okay? Where in the file system you are currently standing. And if you want to, be certain where you are, you can run the command pwd, and that stands for present working directory. Okay, and that lets you know where you are. So where I am now in the terminal is the same as over here in the GUI. Okay, in Mac they call it the Finder app. Hey, that's where I am now. You see how all the content of the Arit Amana folder is listed here as icons. Okay, to do that in the terminal, you use the command ls. I think it stands for list. Okay. So you run the command, meaning you type it and then you press enter. That's what it means to run a command, okay? So if you can see that there's now a list of all the content of the Arit Amana folder, application, desktop, document. And if you look through all of this, you will see that it corresponds to all these folders here, okay? It corresponds to all these folders over here, all right? So that is the ls command. Now, you see how in the Finder app, in the GUI, I wanted to see what the content of, pictures of me folder. So I double click on it and I enter the folder. This is now the folder with all the pictures, okay? Now, on the terminal, there are two ways to do it, okay? From where I am currently in Arit Amana, I can run the list command on a folder. Remember, when I ran the ls command without anything, it will list where I am. It will list the content of where I am, which is Arit Amana. Okay? But if I want to list the content of a specific folder, I will say ls and then the folder name, pictures of me. All right? The folder name. So now if I say enter, you see now it's not giving me the former list. It's giving me now a list of all the content, the pictures. Okay? But where am I? I'm not inside this folder. I'm still in Arit Amana, pwd. I'm still in Arit Amana, but from Arit Amana, I am listing the content of another folder. Now, that's the first way. The second way I can do it is I can enter that folder that I want to see the content. I can change directory, cd, okay? I can change directory into the folder, okay? So if I cd into pictures of me, now you see what has happened here. Now my prompt has changed. We're going to talk about that. Now we see that my location is this tilde. This is called the tilde, tilde symbol / pictures of me. And so now if I run the ls command here, naked, without any option, it will now list the content of where I am. Okay, I'm no longer in Arit Amana. I am now in pictures of me. So it's now listing the content, okay? So that is how you navigate on the terminal through the file system, okay? Now, let's go back. Okay, so now let me teach this now because I saw some people having some trouble with this. Let's go back to where we are coming from, okay? Don't worry about the dot. I'll explain that. Now, let's do pwd. We are back in Arit Amana, okay? Now, let me change directory again into pictures of me, but I'm going to do it a different way. You will see the error, okay? So I'm going to change directory into pictures of me. I cannot type. Okay, pictures of me, okay? So I said cd / pictures of me. And if I say enter, I'm going to get an error. What is the error? It's saying no such file or directory. Okay? Somebody might say, but what's the difference? You did it before it worked. What is the difference? The difference is that forward slash you put in front. Okay? Now, in terminal, forward slash stands for the root folder. Okay? The root folder, that is, I don't know how to say it. It's like, in a family tree, you have yourself, you have your parents, then you have your grandparents, and you keep going up, 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 up. Let's say if you have a large family, your parents have siblings, cousins. So let's say you have a large family, you have a lot of cousins and here. So the bottom of the family tree will be very plentiful, okay? Because there's so many of you. And then one level up is going to be less, okay? Because all of you children down here, then your parents is going to be less. Then your grandparents is going to be even less. Eventually, you get to the top, which is your ancestor and whoever they married, from whom all the family now. So you can think of that ancestor as the root. Okay? That's the root family member. Good. So the root folder is like the beginning, is like the start of the whole file system. Okay? And the way you connote root is by forward slash. Okay? That's the way you connote root. If you just run forward, let me show it to you. Okay, so if I say ls forward slash, you see, that's the root. Okay, this is the root. That is, it's not even Aritamana. This is the root. It's like the first ancestor, the top. Okay, now let me show you again. I am in Aritamana. Let me run pwd. Yes, Ibe, yes, this tutorial is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it later. Okay, so let me run pwd now where I am. Look at it. It says forward slash root, and then the folder users, and then this forward slash is not root. This forward slash is now telling you, okay, a subfolder or a subdirectory of the users directory, okay? But the very first slash is root, okay? Now, you see this users directory. Look at it here. This is it here. In the root, there is a users directory. And it is in that users directory that the Arit Amana directory is living, okay? So that is where I am, okay? So when you put a slash in front of a folder, a directory that is not inside root, it will tell you it cannot find it. So that's where some of you made that mistake. You were running a command, but you put, it's like maybe you don't understand what that first slash means. That first slash means root, okay? So instead of putting root in front of pictures of me, there's no need to put that root because pictures of me is inside Aritamana. Okay, so you can CD, I'll do it both ways. Let me show you. So you can CD, because if you list Aritamana, you will see that pictures of me is one of the folders. So you can just CD into pictures of me. The slash at the end is basically saying this is a directory and it may have items in it or not, which is different from a file. A file is like an a file doesn't contain any additional file. So you can do it like this, or you can choose to use the absolute path. This is a relative path. Let's talk about that. I don't want to go too deep into it, but you need to know this so that you are not hindered. The more complex the exercises become. Okay, so let's spend some time on this. You have what you call relative path to a file or a directory, and you have what is called absolute path. Absolute path always starts from root. Write that down. If you don't hear any other thing, absolute path always starts from root. Always. Absolute. Absolute means absolute. Okay. Relative is relative to something else. So let's look at it. Okay. So if I wanted to type the relative path to pictures of me, I first have to see where am I. I am in Aritamana. Then I have to see where is pictures of me. Pictures of me is inside Aritamana. Okay, so now I can now type CD. I want to change directory. I can just type pictures of me. because pictures of me is where I'm standing. Okay, the room that I'm standing in, the closet is in the same room. So all I have to do is go to the closet and open it. Okay, if I was in the parlor and the closet is in the room, to get to the closet, I first have to enter the room and then I get to the closet. You see, relative. Okay, so that is why this CD pictures of me, it work. Okay, let me show you where it will not work. So let's go a step back. Let's go into Arit Amana's parent directory. Okay, let's go into the parent. Now I'm going to show you some notation here. There's dot notation in navigation. A single dot means where I am. Okay, a single dot means where I am. CD dot is the same as saying CD Arit Amana, where I am. Okay, 2 dot means one directory back, parent. Okay, 2 dots. Okay, so I'll show you both ways. Let's see. PWD is users. Okay, so I want to CD into my parent. My parent is /users. Okay, that is using the directory name. Okay, you see now I am in users. Okay, let me say this. Somebody will say, okay, why is it that when you were in Arit Amana, we just see this little tilde, but now that you are in users, we see this. This tilde stands for home. It's like my home directory, the directory I've chosen as my home directory. That's what it stands for. Okay, so that means when I log into my system, where do I go to first? I go home. Okay, but now it's telling me I am in /root. This / is root. I am in /users. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Arit Amana. I'm going to do it a different way. Okay, so let's go back to Arit Amana. Now I want to go now to my parent using dot notation. I say CD dot dot. Dot dot means my father. Okay, my father, my mother. Okay, dot means where I am. Okay, dot dot means the room containing me. I want to go into that room. Okay, so if I say CD dot dot, you see it has taken me to users. So I'm just showing you different notation. Okay, different notation. Okay, now we're talking about relative versus absolute. Now we are in users and we want to CD into pictures of me. There are 2 ways to do it. Like I said, absolute or relative. Okay, so absolute will be /root users /Arit Amana /pictures of me. This is the absolute path to that directory. Absolute means it does not, as long as you use this whole path, you will always get there. Okay, that's what absolute means. Absolute includes the entire file system path to a directory or a file, the entire one. So it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what PWD returns to you. It will always start from the root. It will always get you there. Okay, so absolute paths tend to be more robust. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. Absolute paths, like in programming and things like that, they tend to be more robust because you know you will always get there. If that file exists or that folder exists, absolute path will always get you there. Okay, so that's absolute path. Now, relative path is different because it is relative to where you are. Okay, it's relative to where you are. So in this case, I am in users. So I don't have to start from root because I'm in users. So I will start from the next, after users, I will start from the next level. So the next level is Arit Amana and then pictures of me. So this is the relative path. Relative path will always change based on where you are. Okay, so you see this relative path will work because I'm in users. If I was in root, it wouldn't work. Okay, so let's see. Change directory into pictures of me. You see, now I'm in pictures of me. Okay, it worked. The relative path worked because I was in the starting point of the relative path. Let's go back to users and I'll show you where relative does not work. Okay, to go back to users, we're going to go 2 parents back, our father and then our grandfather. Okay, so how do we do that in dot notation? Dot dot /dot dot. Okay, that is the same as saying cd that is a cd users arit. Let me just show you. Aha, you see? So that dot, the first dot says, take me to Aritamana, my father. Then the second dot says, take me to users, which is the father of Aritamana, which is your grandfather. Okay? You may not catch it as I'm teaching it now. That's why this video is recorded. Watch the video, okay? Until it comes, all right? Now, I wanted to show, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I wanted to show how this relative path up here will not work if we're in a different directory, okay? So let's go one more step up. Let's go to great grand. So let's go to root. So now I am in root. But if I run that relative command, okay, I am in root. But if I run this relative path, not absolute, relative, it will fail. No such file or directory. Why? Because Aritamana is not a folder in root. It is a folder in users. And so this relative path will only work if I am in the location of Aritamana. Okay? That's why I say it's relative. So that's why I say absolute is more robust, because absolute always starts from root. So no matter where you are, it will work. Okay? But with relative, you have to pay attention to where you are. Okay? It's like a relative. It's like you cannot say somebody is your cousin. That cousin means there's a relation. Aha, I don't know if it makes sense. Okay, I'm going to stop there because file system, we can talk about it tomorrow. Okay, so I hope that helps because some of you were a little confused. So let's go back home. Okay, now Git. It's just surface. So because Git is like, it's a dissertation in and of itself, okay? But let me at least get you up to speed, okay? Let me stop and ask if there's question. I'm seeing people are in the chat, okay? Are there any questions? Let me wait and see. I don't know what's bothering my eyes. Like something is... Okay. Okay, it doesn't look at any question. Okay, all right. So let's move on to Git, okay? And for Git, I'm going to talk a little bit. Let me close this. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to draw a little bit, and then we'll get into it, okay? So what is Git? Git is a program that allows us to manage and maintain versions of files. Okay, versions of files. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's say you are planning a wedding. Let's say you are planning a wedding for your friend, and you have this piece of paper, or you have this document on your laptop that has all the wedding plan. But you are planning this wedding with a group of people. Okay, so this here is your wedding document, WD. Okay, so this is you here. Okay, so there's you and you have your paddy them. Okay, those that are planning this wedding with you. Okay, all right. So now with this document, you go ahead and, you write some things, you write some plans in the document. Okay, now it's not only you that has plan, your friends too have plan. But because there's one document, okay? Because there's one document, there's a question. Okay, I think there's a little lag between the video. For you to use absolute, yes. If you want to use absolute path, you need to know where you're going. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Okay, so if there's just one of these wedding planning documents and you are the one with it, these your friends here, they also have ideas. That is, they are thinking of ideas, they are ahead, but they don't have access to that document. So they have to wait for you to finish. You have to finish the document, and then, when you finished it, you finished it, and then you will now, you give it now to, your green friend. Your green friend is now making their change. But, while they are making their change, you have some ideas. You have to wait. The other ones have ideas. Okay, the green friend has now finished. So you can see how, even with all these your brilliant ideas, the process of documenting them is cumbersome because there's only one document. Okay, so somebody might say, okay, why does there have to be one document? Why can't we have multiple documents? Okay, that's an idea. So every friend has their document on their laptop. Everybody has their document. Okay, now what is the problem here? Well, this one solution of this is now people don't have to wait. Okay, so you are writing, your friends are writing, everybody is writing. Once they have an idea, they are able to write. But what is the problem with this? There is no sync, there is no synchronization between these documents. There's not, because they are all separate documents. So what now needs to happen is, after you've written all your ideas and you think your plan is so wonderful, now you have to get together with your friends and start comparing notes. That is time consuming. And then guess what? Even after you compare and you synchronize, everybody goes back home with their document. Guess what? If they are adding more ideas, you have to come back again and synchronize over it. So it is still cumbersome. It is still cumbersome. Okay? Now, somebody will say, okay, forget about all this. Why don't we use Google Docs? Why don't we use an online word processor? Okay, so it's online and all of us have access to it. So all of us can be writing at the same time. So there's no need for synchronizing between the different, the 4 different documents, because everybody is writing on this one document. Well, that definitely solves a lot of problem. It solves the problem of waiting. It solves the problem of synchronizing, because everyone is writing on one document. So the synchronizing is happening. At least before I come with my idea, I can read and see if another person had the idea. So that's a duplication and redundancy has been solved. Okay. But what if 3 weeks into planning the wedding, this your friend here realizes that, there was one idea, that red girl. There was one idea that she wrote, but we deleted it. Now I can't remember what it was, but I remember it was really good. If only we had access to that. You see? So even with all the problem that this shared document has solved, it has not solved the issue of versions. Okay? Versions. So the first version of the document, the second version of the document, the third version of the document, and now the current version. Once you delete from this shared document, it's gone. And so even if it was something that you now remember, you say, that idea that we said was not good is actually really good, but you don't have access to it anymore because the version of that document that had that idea is gone. So that is what Git solves. Okay? Git is a version control system. Okay? It's a version control system that allows you not only to collaborate on the same files, but it keeps a record of every version of that file so that you have access to whatever was done before, even though the current file has different content. Okay? If there's nothing else you learn, let that be what you learn about Git. Okay? That's where it's called a version control system. All right? Okay, now what is GitHub? GitHub is straightforward. GitHub. So let me go back. So in Git, you have what is called a repository. So and we'll see it in action. A repository is I don't know how to say it. A repository is a collection of files and folders that are under Git control. That's a repository. So it's the same directory and files. So it's the same or what you have on your laptop. But when you now initialize Git, it now becomes a repository. Not that anything, I mean, there are some hidden files, some special files that Git will add, but the key thing now is that whole folder in which you initialized Git is now under Git control. So now all the benefits of Git are now that is, they are now added to that folder. Okay, so you can use Git commands and things like that. Okay, so that's what you call a Git repository. Now, I want to bring GitHub now into it. So let's say this is your laptop here. Okay, that's your laptop. And let's say this is GitHub. You know, GitHub is, on internet. Okay, it's a service on the internet. Okay, so this is GitHub. Okay, now on your laptop, you have a folder. Okay, and this folder has Git, or Git is initialized on this folder. So that means now this is a Git repository. Okay, it's a Git repository on your laptop. Okay, that's what we call local. Use another color. That's what we call local. So on your laptop, you have a local, on your laptop, you have a local repository, or repo for short. Okay. Your repository on your laptop is a local repository. Okay. So now what is GitHub? GitHub is a way to have, it's almost like to have a copy of your local repo on the web. Okay? It's a way to have your local repo on the web. Now, why is that important? It's okay. Whatever is in my eye will come out. So why is that important? Remember when we talked about the wedding planning example, and you have your friends and yourself are planning this wedding. Well, if that document is not available on the internet, how do they access it? If that document is only on your laptop, then they have to be coming to your house. Okay? But if it is on the internet, in the cloud, where are my cloud engineers? If it's in the cloud, then everyone is able to access it. Okay? So GitHub is an online collection of what we call remote repositories. Remote. That remote means it's not local. It's not on your system. It's in the cloud. Okay? And we'll see it in action. So remote repos. So it's like a copy of that your Git folder or project, whatever, is now in GitHub. Okay? So GitHub is a service that allows us to maintain remote Git repositories, not local. Local is our system, our computer, our machine. GitHub is cloud. Okay. So that's the connection. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Any questions? Just be asking them. Every now and again I will look. Also, if I don't get to the questions in this live, I can always answer them in the Slack. Okay. So just be asking. What I'm saying is ask. Eventually, your question will get answered, even if I don't answer it directly on the live. Okay? All right. What else did I want to say here? So now, and we're going to see in action, you can now have a link between your local repo and your remote repo on GitHub. Now, I should say GitHub is not the only remote repo service out there. There are others. GitLab comes to mind. There are others, but GitHub tends to be, I think, is the most popular. Okay, but that's not to say they are the only one. Okay, so now you have a connection. So changes that you make in your local repo can be pushed to your remote repo, and let's say that remote repo, you are using it to collaborate with other people. Remember those your friends. Okay? So your friends are collaborating with you on your remote repository, so they could make changes and push those changes to the remote repository, well, guess what? Just as you can push changes, you can also pull changes from the remote repository to your local repository. That is what makes version control so powerful. The way we have tech, that is not just software development, but literally tech careers now would not be possible without Git. Git has empowered tech companies to collaborate on massive scales. That's why you can have remote work. That's why. So a lot of the setup that we have in tech is empowered by this Git, okay? And by extension, GitHub type services, okay? All right, so let's stop there and let us move on to demo time, okay? Now, I'm going to make a disclaimer, and it's okay, I'm not somebody that is afraid to make mistake in front of people. So I just want to give you a disclaimer. I'm not an expert, okay? I'm not an expert. So I'm going to take us through this. If we have problem or we have error, I will do my best to solve it, okay? But hopefully everything will go smoothly and everybody can learn, okay? All right, so let's see, where am I? Do I want to do it in here? No, let me make a directory. Let me say Git Session, okay? All right, and I'm going to cd into that directory. Okay, now in here, I'm going to make, I want to set up like a quick project. Then I want to initialize Git. I want to take you through it practical, okay? So you can see. So let's, no, let me make a file. Just want to make a quick, just something quick that, we can use to demonstrate, okay? And let me also touch style.css, okay? Let me open my code editor, okay? This is not actually part of the demo, but I need to set it up. Maybe I should have done it before, but it's okay. You can watch me. Okay, so with this, Lord, what is this thing now? Aha, thank you. Aha, good. Okay, so over here, we're just going to say mock site, okay? And then we are going to, I need to link, I never know how to do this off the top of my head. Link. Oh, Lord. I'm trying to link the CSS file. I never know how to do it off the top of my, I've never memorized it. Aha, here we go. Thank you. All right. Okay. So link, okay. And the name is style.css. Okay. And then in our body, we're going to have an H1. And we're going to call it cool session. And then we're going to, it doesn't matter. We can go into CSS and we're just going to style the H1. We're going to give it a color of red. And okay, I think that's good enough. Okay, so if I were to open this now, let's go live. Okay, so this is our website, okay? Cool session in red. Very, very basic website, okay? Now, I have this website. Now, I want to initialize Git, okay? In this project, in this my really simple project, okay? All right, so to do that, in the project folder, where are you, okay? You need to, where am I? PWD. In the project folder, you run git init. That init stands for initialize. I'm looking at the questions. How to paste my link in Sandbox. We're asked to add the files on Git. Okay, some of these questions, I'll answer them later. Okay, so you run git init in the directory of your project, okay? If you want to initialize Git in a directory, you need to be in that directory. at least as far as I know. Okay. All right. So you run git init. Now, before we even do that, let's look at the content of this directory. We see that it's index. We have our index HTML file and we have our CSS file. That's it. Okay. Just 2 items. Now we run git init and it tells us initialized empty Git repository in, this is the absolute path. Okay. And this is our empty Git repository. The dot in front of it means it's a hidden directory. It's hidden, okay? If I just did ls, you see, we don't see it. We still don't see it. But there's a command ls-al that shows us hidden files and folders, not just the visible ones. So you can see here you have .git, okay? It's hidden, okay? You see? And remember those dot and 2 dot I was telling you about? Look at them here. Okay? Dot is where you are. And 2 dots. It's really, everything is documented somehow. Anyway, but okay. So we have now initialized Git. Okay? All right. Now in Git, this is the part this part, look on YouTube because other people teach it really well. Okay? Now, as far as the versioning that we talked about, okay, with Git, you have what you call a commit. A commit in Git is like a snapshot of the present state of that directory. And that's where the versioning comes in. Because with a commit, you are capturing a particular version of that project, of that directory, okay, with a commit, okay? Now, how do you create a commit? That's what we're going to go into now, okay? So to create a commit, you first have to add, the files that have changes. You have to add them to what is called a staging area. Let's go back to our visual, I think it will help, okay? So let's go through this quickly. We have time. All right. Are you all still with me? Okay. Give me a thumbs up. If you are with me, give me a thumbs up. Okay. Now, let's see how I do this. Okay. Okay. Dear Lord, give me wisdom. Okay. So we have, let me see. Let's say we have, okay. Well, we first have a stage. Okay. This is good. Okay. I'm just trying to think of the analogy. Okay. So we have a stage. Okay. All right. This is a stage, like a play, like a play or a drama. Okay. We have a stage. All right. Okay. And then we have a commit, which is like a picture. It's like a snapshot. Okay. So let me draw a camera. Don't laugh at me. Okay. So this is like our camera. Okay. Okay. And it's on a tripod stand. Okay. So this is I'm going to put commit here. Okay. But it's like our camera. And the camera is pointed at the stage. Okay. The camera is pointed at the stage. Now we have our files, okay? And let's just say they are on the floor, okay? So we have our different files. Now I should say all this is in the Git report, that is in the folder that we initialize Git. So that is this yellow border is the folder, okay? That is our area. So now we have our files. Okay. All right. Let's have these files. Okay. Okay. Now, this is where the versioning part of Git comes in. Okay. Let's say we have made changes to, Lord, give me wisdom. Okay. Let's say we have made changes to this file and this one and this one. Okay. So file 1, file 2, and file 5. We have made changes. Okay. Now, when we create a commit, because the state of the project has changed, the state of these files, the state of the directory has changed, and we want to capture it as a version, want to capture the current state of this project or the current version of this project. Okay. Now, the process by which we do that is to create a commit. Okay, to create a commit. Okay, now how do we do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to identify which of the changed files we want to be in that commit. So think of a commit as a picture, okay, a picture that is taken by a camera. Now, before you take that picture, you need to decide which of the changes in this state do I want to preserve in this picture. That is a commit, okay? Now, to do that, you have to stage the changes that you want to commit. You stage the changes that you want to commit, okay? So how we do that is now, out of this, let's say we want to preserve the 3 changes that we made in these 3 files, okay? What we do is we stage them. We tell the files, oh yeah, climb on the stage with your changes. We want to create a commit. We want to preserve your current state in a commit. So you do that by what did I do? Thank God. I meant to choose the eraser and I chose the X. It is well. Okay, so you ask them to get on the stage for the commit, for the picture. Okay, so now they are no longer here, or they are no longer what you call unstaged. That's how it's called in Git, unstaged files. They are now staged. So they've climbed on the stage. So now that we know what we want to stage, we can now commit our changes. Okay, and that commit is just you take a picture. So now let's put our picture down here. Okay, so now we have our picture, and usually commits in Git are identified by hashes. A hash is like a long list of like numbers and letters, a long string of numbers and letters. Okay, it's called a commit hash. Okay, so we have ADE. It's usually very long, but you have a short version, okay? So you now have a commit hash, which is the identifier. It's like if I tell you, please, can you get me the first picture that we took on this stage? I would give you the commit hash and you will use it to look up that commit. Okay? So we have our picture here. This is the first one. Okay? This is the first picture that we have taken. Okay, with these changes. Okay, now that we've taken the commit, okay, we now tell this they can come back now, come back down. You've taken your picture, yeah, come back down. Okay, we've taken your picture. Okay, so you can come off the stage. All right. Now let's say we make some other changes. Okay, so in this file, we take away that change. And then let's say in this file, we make a change. And in this one, we also make a change. So now we have made changes. Okay, we want to create a commit. We want to capture the now this is the current state. It's not the same as the former one. Okay, the former state has been captured in a commit. Now we want to capture the new state. So we do the same thing. This, I'm not going to draw it. These 4 boxes will climb on the stage and the camera would snap their picture. And now we have a second commit. Okay. And then you have the 4 squares with their changes. Or it's really the state. What I'm doing here is not the commit is the entire, it's a snapshot of the entire, is the state of the folder, and then a document of whatever changes were made at the time of the commit. Now, I have made this second commit, okay, and it has its own hash as well, okay. Now, I have made this second commit. What if I now decide, there was something in a previous commit that I liked, and I want to restore that? So you can actually do that. You can actually, that's the power of, and this is getting deeper into it, but I just wanted to show you, because when I do it on the terminal, I don't want you to be confused. Okay. So that's why I wanted to show it to you visually, what we're going to do on the terminal. I'm not going to go deeper into this because, like I said, Git is deep. You have your commands, you have your branches, and we're not going to get into branches. Okay. There's no time for that. But this is an introduction for many of you who don't actually know what Git is. Okay. So this was visual. I hope it makes sense. So now let's go back to our terminal. Okay, so this is our, our very simple, how will I say, application. Okay, and if you remember, we made changes to the HTML and the CSS. So we've added stuff. Okay, so let's go now to our terminal. So now in the terminal, there are some Git has so many commands. We're not going to go through all of them. We're going to go through the very simple ones, okay? If you want to see the state, if you want to see the current state of your Git repository, you run the command git status. Okay? So let's walk through it, okay? So it tells me I am on branch master. Typically, if you have not defined a branch, it will be called master. You can call it anything you want. But the default first branch is master, okay? The default first branch. A branch, we're not going to get into branching. That's another powerful part about Git. We're not getting into branches. Are like, they are also a sort of version of the project, but in a different way than commits, okay? Don't worry about branch. Maybe branch I'll do another time, okay? But you are on master branch. You can have multiple branches. That's the point, okay? It tells you no commits yet. No commit. We don't have any commits because this is a brand new repository, okay? Then it tells you untracked files. Untracked means we are not checking these files for changes yet. Okay? These files are not being checked for changes. They are present in the project, they are present in the directory, but Git is not monitoring them. That's what that means. Git is not monitoring the files. Okay? Then it tells us use git add file. So it's giving us the command. Use this command to include in what will be committed. That's our picture, our snapshot. Okay? It says nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. So it's talking to you. Git will talk to you. Git will tell you what is happening. Pay attention. Okay? All right. So let's do what Git has said. So now these are our files like in the floor area that have changes that we want to commit. It's not every change you want to commit. There are some changes you make, you don't want to commit them. So you still have to select, okay? So now we have changes in these two files and we want to commit all those changes. So we have to move the files to the staging area. We need to stage the file, okay? All right. So we're going to say git add index.html. I'm going to do them separately. You can add the whole, but I'm going to do it separately because we're going slowly, okay? So I'm adding index.html for commit, okay? Now, if I run git status again, we have some new things going on. We are on branch master. We still don't have any commits, but we now have this new section, changes to be committed. Okay? Changes to be committed. And then it's now telling us, you see this on stage. It says, right now, this file, which is a new file that was just created, is going to be included in the next commit if you should commit. Now, if you don't want to commit this file, then you run this command to unstage it. Okay, so Git talks to you. Git will be talking to you. Okay, and then because we did not add the style CSS file, it is still under this untracked files section. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's also add the style.css. Okay, and if we run our Git status again, now it has gotten rid of the untracked file section because we don't have any more untracked files. Now we just have the changes to be committed section because we have staged our 2 files with changes. Okay, so now let's create the commit. Okay, and to do that, we say git commit, and then it's a good idea. This is more for communication and collaboration. It's a good idea to write a commit message that summarizes the changes that were made that are being committed. Okay, so I'm going to write a message. We use -m for message, and I'm going to write a message, create index and style sheet. Okay, when you're writing a commit message, a good rule of thumb is to complete the sentence, this commit will, da 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 da. Okay, so this commit will create index and style sheet. All right, that's a prompt mentally that you can use to frame your commit message. This commit will, what is it going to do? Okay, all right, so git commit -m, and I say enter. What's happening here? It says master branch root commit. This is our hash. This is our commit hash here, the short version. There's a long version. I'm not going to get into that. But this is the identifier of our commit. If we ever wanted to reference this commit in the future, this is what we would use. Okay, this string here. Okay, and then we have our commit message, create index and style sheet. Now it's giving us some data on what happened in the commit. It says 2 files were changed. It says, and there were 16 insertions. If there were deletions, it will put it there as well. Okay, if there were deletions made, it will put it there, but we didn't delete anything, we added. Okay, so in total, there were 16 insertions. The insertions means the lines. Let me show you. The insertions means the lines. Okay, so you can see here, there are 13 lines that are populated. And then in the style, there are 3 lines that are populated. So 13 plus 3 is 16. Okay, so the insertions or the deletions is speaking of an entire line of code, in this case code. Okay, that's what it's talking about. All right, and then it now is just giving you some extra data. So that's it. So now we have committed. Okay, that's it. In our local repository, locally, we are good. Okay, we created that project. We've created a commit. We've captured the current state of our project. Okay, that's the extent of my Git introduction. Okay, if I made some more changes, I would go through the same process. Okay, I would stage the files and I would commit. Okay, that's locally. Now, what about now GitHub? How does GitHub now come into it? Remember that we talked about how you have your local repo and then you have your remote repo in GitHub. Okay, so now we are going to set that up. All right, and I think that might be the last thing we do in this session. Okay, so let's set up GitHub, and we are going to link. We are actually going to that is go from a local repository. We are going to duplicate it now into a remote repository on GitHub. So to do that, let's close our mock site. So you need your GitHub account. Okay, so go ahead and create your GitHub account, and then you come to your profile. Okay, to come to your profile, let me see if I can make this bigger so that people can see. All right, so you come to your profile. If you want to come to your profile, just come here and you say your profile, and it will bring you to your profile. Okay, it tells you you do not have any public repositories yet. Okay, so you can come see the tabs up here. You can come to this tab, repository. Okay, all right. Arithmock does not have any good. So you come here to new. Okay, so create a new repository. All right, and I'm creating a repository on a remotely that I'm now going to link to my local repository. Okay, so the repository name, I'm going to call it, let's see, what was it on here? Git Session. Okay, so I'm going to give it the same name as the folder. Okay, but you can give it any name. Let me say that it doesn't have to be the name of the folder. I'm just making it that way because it helps me. But you can give your repository any name you want. You can name any name you want. You can give. Okay, and it will tell you whether that name is available or not. Okay, all right. Now you choose here whether you want a public or a private. Public, anybody can see it. Not everybody can commit to it, but everybody can see it. If it's private, you can see it and you choose which other GitHub user can also see it. Okay, so this is going to be public. Okay, now we have some options here. Add a README. It says here, skip this step if you are importing an existing repository. Okay, and that's what we are doing. We are going to import our existing repository. If you didn't have an existing local repository, then you can choose these options if you wish. Okay, all right, so we say create repository. All right, okay, now we have created the repository. Okay, now it's giving us some options. It's telling us a quick setup if you've done this kind of thing before. Okay, this is a SSH. Okay, we're going to come. This is our repository address. Okay, this is like our repository address on GitHub. Okay, now these options right here is if you don't have a repository locally already. Okay, and you want to set up a local repo that tracks with this online repo or remote repo. That's not our situation because we already have an existing repository locally. So this is what we are going to follow. Push an existing repository from the command line. This is our use case here. All right. So this is what we are going to do. So these are the commands it has given us. So I'm going to explain them one by one. Okay. All right. Okay. So this command, let's copy it and then I will explain. Okay. Now, what this command is doing is it is adding the address of your remote repository to your project, to your local project, so that when we push our changes or we push to the remote, Git knows where to send it. So it's like an address. Okay, we are adding, it's like our local Git repo has an address book, and we are adding the address of our remote repository to the address book. Okay, now before we run that command, I want to open the address book to show you. Okay, so the way you check your address book in Git is to run git remote. And I like to add -v. -v means verbose. Verbose will tell you more information. Okay. So git remote -v. I ran it, nothing came because we've not added any addresses. We don't have any addresses in our remote address book. Okay. So that command that I copied is going to add the address. Now let's go through the command. Git remote add. Okay, so git remote add, we are adding the address of a remote repository. Okay, then the next word, origin. Origin is the name in the address book. So for example, let me see, Miriam on the chat. If I wanted to add Miriam's address, I won't just put her address. I will first put her name. I will say Miriam. Then next to her name, I will put the address. So this origin is the name in the address book, and you can make that name whatever you want. It doesn't have to be origin. Now, origin for the remote repository that is the counterpart to your local, a good default name is origin. Many people will use origin, but you don't have to, okay? It's just the name of the address entry. And then the final part is the actual address, okay? Which is the URL, all right? So I'm going to add it, and then we'll open our address book again and you'll see the difference. So I add it, and then I run git remote again. Now we have an entry. All right. Now we have an entry. It tells us origin, the name of the remote repo. It gives us the address, and then it tells us what we can do with that address. We can fetch changes and we can push changes, because there are some repositories, depending on the permissions on that remote repo, you may not always be able to push. You may be able to fetch. So this will tell you, if this push wasn't here, then we'll know, okay, the only thing we can do at this address is fetch fetch the content or fetch the changes that have been made remotely. But if you don't have push, that means you cannot push the changes you have made locally to the remote. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. I'm going to pause. Give me a show of hands, a thumbs up. Show me that, you are still with me. I'm not alone in this session. All right? Okay. Write your questions. I will check for them. Okay? All right. So now we have added our remote. So let's go back now to those instructions. Now this here is saying git branch main. What is happening here? GitHub changed their convention for the name of master branch. Okay, so initially the original branch was named master, but GitHub has changed that. We now call it main branch. Okay, thank you, Mercy. We now call it main branch. Okay, so this command here is, in other words, if your local main branch is anything other than main, then you need to change it. Okay, so that is what this command is what this command is doing. It's making sure, you see, our branch here is master, because in Git itself, it's still, the convention is still to call it master, but GitHub has changed that. Now their convention is to call it main. So in order for it to match, the local branch has to match the remote branch name, or else there's going to be a conflict. Okay, so to rename a branch, that's the command. Oh, sorry, did I not copy it? Okay, so to rename a branch, that is the command. To rename a branch, you say git branch -m capital and then the new branch name. Okay, so I'm going to do it now. You will see the change. You see it now? Now our branch name is main. It's no longer master. Okay, it's main, the branch name. Aha, okay. So now we are now going to push. Push. The third command is the link. We are going to link now our local to our remote. We're going to establish the link. Okay? Right now, they are not linked. We have the address, but we have not driven there yet. Okay? So now we are going to do it. All right? So let me clear. So let me explain the command. Git push means the commits, the new commits I have taken, the pictures. Okay? These pictures I have taken that are local, I now want them also represented remotely. So I'm going to push my changes. I'm going to push my commits to the remote branch. Okay. The -u, I believe, stands for, I might be wrong on this. I should, you know what? Let me not say what is not good. Let's Google. Let's Google. Okay. Ay. There's so much English. I believe the -u, okay, I remember. The -u, because this is the first time This is the first time that we are pushing to origin. Okay, our origin, that is, origin is the name of our remote repository. Okay, this is the first time that we are pushing to origin. So that -u origin, okay, this -u origin is saying, let this be the default remote repo. Every push after this by default goes to origin. That's what that means. I remember. You know, sometimes you'll be doing something over and over again in work. You don't even remember what, okay, but I remember. That -u origin, that's what it means. It means this initial push that we are making, every subsequent push after this by default should go to origin. That means if you wanted your push to go elsewhere, you have to specify it. If you don't specify, by default, it will go to origin. Okay? And then the final part is main. And this main is saying which branch. We're not going to go into branches in this session. Which branch on origin are we pushing to? Okay? And again, it's saying by default. So this whole part -u origin main is setting up a default action so that in your subsequent pushes, the only thing you have to type is git push. You don't have to keep typing this remaining part over and over again because it is setting up the default action. If you wanted to push it to a different repository or a different branch, you now have to specify it in your push command. Does that make sense? Okay. Oladeji, things are getting clearer. I'm very glad to hear that. Awesome. Okay. So let's now run the command and we'll see what will happen. Let's go and look first. So let's go and look first. Okay. I want you to see first. Okay. You see, this is my repo. Okay. I am in the Git Session repo here. Okay. This is my account. This is my repo. You see under code, you see all this instruction is because we have not pushed anything. That's why you see all this instruction, okay? That's why you see all this instruction because I've not pushed anything. Now, when I run the command, we'll come back and see now what is under code, okay? All right. So I run the command. Aha, wonderful. I like this, okay? I like this because, and I think I should have time to set this up. I hope I do. We are pushing to an address in GitHub. But what if we're not authorized? What if we're not authorized to push to that repository? So you have to authenticate yourself. GitHub will not just allow you to come in and be pushing and pulling and fetching. No, you have to authenticate yourself, okay? Now, normally, you have to, with every push, and I think even with fetch, when you fetch from a remote, you have to authenticate yourself. But I'm going to show you how to set up passwordless authentication to GitHub that will simplify your workflow if I have time. I hope I have time. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock in about 45 minutes. Okay. All right. So it's asking for our username. So I'm going to grab that. Okay. I'm going to grab my username. So my username is aritmock. Okay. So I'm going to say aritmock and I say enter. And then it's asking for password. So I'm going to grab the password. Don't worry, you won't see. Okay. I can't type. Okay, so I'm going to grab my password. Okay, I'm going to copy it. Don't worry, everything is private. Okay, and I'm going to paste it. And I say enter. Okay. I love this. Okay, so you see here it says, and I didn't even know this because I have not done this in a long time. It says remote support for password authentication was removed on this date. Okay, please use a personal access token instead. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up our authentication. Okay, and then we'll push our changes. Let's do this. Dear Lord, give me wisdom. Okay, let's do this. So let's come to our GitHub page. We are going to come here to settings. Okay. And you are going to come here to password and authentication. Oh, no. Okay. No. This is a for your account. Sorry. You're going to come to SSH and GPG keys here. And what they were also talking about when they said personal access token, this is where you would get it. Okay, but I'm not going to use this way. We are going to use the SSH and GPG keys. Okay, now I'm not going to get into the technology of SSH. Okay, I'm just going to show you how to use it, because if I start talking, we'll be here till morning. Okay, so with SSH keys, this is the way I use. There are different ways of setting up this automatic authentication. This is the way I use it. Other people may teach you different. They are not wrong. Okay. There are many ways. All right. So we're going to click here, new SSH key. Okay. Now you're going to give your key a title, and then you're going to put a key in here. So I'm going to put a title. I'm going to say work Mac. Okay. Work Mac. That tells me it's my Mac that I use at work. Okay. Now this key, where do we get it? I'll show you. Okay. On your terminal, you have to generate what is called a public private key pair. Okay. A public private key pair. The private key you keep private at all time. That's why it's called private. Nobody should ever know what it is. It is the public key that you use. Okay. I'm not going to go through the generation of it now. I will try and find some good YouTube tutorials to teach you, because I don't want it to stretch our time. Okay. But the whole idea is you generate a key pair. The private key remains private. It's never, ever, ever revealed. It is the public key that you reveal. Okay. So I have a key pair already on my system, and I want to grab the public key. So I do that. I say cat SSH IDRSA. Okay. That was my private key. You see? Okay. So cat IDRSA pub. Aha. Okay. So cat IDRSA pub. Okay. So I will cat. Aha, this is the one you want. Okay. So you copy this key. Okay. This isn't a password per se. Okay. So some people say, why are you showing it? It was the ID, don't worry, I'll cut out of the video. It was the original, the first one that I displayed. That is the private key. That one, it stays private. Okay. But this one, you copy it. So I copy this. Copy, make sure it's copied. Okay. And then I come over to GitHub and I paste it in here. And it even tells you, it says begins with SSH RSA. There are other kinds, you see. There are so many ways of generating public. So it's even giving you a clue. These are, giving you a clue like what your key is starting with. Okay. So our own is starting with the SSH RSA. All right. So I copy and I say add SSH key. Okay. It's asking me for my password again. Of course, because when you add a key, what if you are adding it maliciously? So you have to authenticate. You have to authenticate yourself. Okay, and I say confirm password. Oh, key is already in use. Okay, so I have to generate a new key. Okay, let's do this. I said I wasn't going to do it, and then the Lord said, no, you are going to do it. Okay, so it's been a while I've done this, and I hope it works. No, you cannot use touch to generate the key. I'm going to do it now. Hopefully it will work. Let's do it now. Okay. SSH. Now this is for Mac. Windows is a different way. I will look for videos and post it. For Windows, there's a utility you can use to generate your keys. I will look for a video and post it for our Windows users. SSH key gen -t RSA -b 4096. It's been so long I've done this. Okay, at least I didn't get an error. Generating public private RSA key pair. enter file in which to save the key. I need to change it. Let me say arit mock RSA. Okay. Enter passphrase. Sometimes you can further lock your key down with a passphrase. Typically, I don't use one. Okay. Now it says your identification has been saved. Okay. And your public key has been saved. Arit mock RSA pub. Okay. So I've generated a new key pair. I hope it works. Let's see. Okay. So let's cut that key pair. What's going on? Where did I put it? I created it in my project folder. You see, I've not done this in a while. Okay, what is good? Let's do some file system navigation. So let's move those two keys. I want to move them. I want to move arit mock where I am. I want to move it to SSH. Okay, so if I ls SSH, I should see it. Okay, there it is. Okay, good. All right. And then I want to do the same thing for the public key. And I want to move it to SSH. Okay. Now, if I ls where I am, you see the keys are gone because I moved them. Okay. And if I ls the SSH folder, hidden folder, you see my keys here. You see them? Okay, arit pub and arit RSA. Okay, all right. Okay, Git status. Let's just see where we are. Okay, we are on main branch, nothing to commit, working tree clean. What this just means is that there's nothing, that is, you've created a commit. There's no staged files with, there's no staged files with the uncommitted changes. Okay, that's typically what that means. So I had wanted to push to origin, right? So it was git push. Oh, no. What am I doing? No, we have to add our key. Okay, so cat SSH arit mock.pub. Okay, so this is a new key. It's not the same as the other one because we generated this one fresh. Okay, so let's go back to GitHub. Okay, and new SSH key. That's very smart. Like they picked it up that you're using this key. And it's true. That's the key I use in my other accounts. So that's really good. Okay, so we're going to say here work Mac, just so I know where the key is from. Let me even say from work Mac. And then I put it in and then I say add SSH key. Yes. Okay. So we have this is our SSH key. Okay, so this now should allow us to authenticate ourselves to GitHub. Remember, our push failed because we were not authenticated. Okay, so let's try that again. Git push -u origin main. All right, enter. Okay, still asking for username. What else do I need to do? What else do I need to do? Okay, authentication field. There's something I need to link. Just give me a second. Okay, connecting to GitHub with SSH. Let's go to the documentation. Okay, adding a new, testing your SSH connection. Okay, checked for generated. Okay. Okay, enter the following: SSH-T. Okay, the authentication. Okay. Okay. Verify that the fingerprint in the message you see matches GitHub's RSA public. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, these are the public fingerprints. Okay, no problem. Okay, so let's follow these commands. Okay, let's follow this instruction from their documentation. One of the most important skills you will learn as a tech professional is to consume documentation, because you cannot know everything. Okay, so it's to locate and consume documentation. Okay, and eventually you write it as well. Okay, so this is our command. So let's do that. Okay. All right, so I put that there. Ha. What does this mean? Oh, okay. Okay, see. Okay, I think we're okay. It says you've successfully authenticated, but GitHub does not. Okay, verify that the resulting message contains your username. Okay. I think we are good. I think we are okay. Hi. Oh, Diego. Okay, so let's run this command again. Let's see what happens. Okay. Ha. Okay, it's still asking me for username. Okay, I don't know why that is happening. Let me see. Maybe it's not using the right key. Still ask for password. Okay. Still asking for password and passphrase. Let's figure it out. We have time. Okay, what are they saying? We followed this. This is what we saw. Okay. Add identity. Oh, okay. You don't want the passphrase stored in the keychain, but you don't want to have to enter it. SSH add. Okay. No wala. Okay. Okay. We're almost there, people. Just bear with me. This is the process, so that's why I don't hide. I don't pretend that these things don't happen, because this is the reality. Okay, so let's see that. Okay, so it's saying SSH add. Okay, it's like it's not recognizing that new key that I created, so I need to call it. It needs to be the arithmock dot, no, just the RSA, the private key. SSH add. Okay, identity added. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so GitHub git push -u origin main, enter. Hi, it's still asking. I don't know if maybe okay. Maybe it's not recognizing git push. It's still asking. Okay, well, I'm not going to keep spinning my wheels. Let's look at this. This is newer. Just give me 5 more minutes, people. Yeah, all that is fine. All that is okay. Okay, I have my public key here. No, that is not giving me the answer. Okay, let's check here. I did that already. Okay, I'm not going to keep spinning my wheels on this. The whole idea is once you have done what I am trying to do, and don't worry, I will figure out a way to complete that part of it. But the idea is once you have done what I'm trying to do, which is authenticating to GitHub, which is its own, as you can see, it's its own mess. And I don't want to keep spinning my wheels on it. Maybe I will do like a quick video after this, really quick, just to show you the issue. This is the issue. I already have a GitHub account, but that's my work. I use that for work. So I created this mock GitHub account, but it's not linked to my computer like my work computer is, okay? And I didn't want to do this with my work account. So that's the issue. But the idea is, and I can show you, the idea is once you push successfully, instead of all this instruction here in GitHub, you will see your code. And let me show you what that looks like with my work. So you see how this is what we are seeing here in my mock account because I've not pushed. But when you push, you will see all your folders, you will see your files, you will see everything that basically is living locally on your machine. You will see it now in your remote repository under the code tab here. That is what you will see. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I hope that's really where I wanted to end up. So now you have now connected your remote to your local. So whatever changes now you're making on local, you can push to your remote. If your remote is being used by more than one person is working on it, whatever changes they make, you can fetch, you can pull into your local. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Let me go back to black screen. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Okay. I'm going to stop there. We've been going for 1.5 hours now. We covered terminal navigation, just real surface, okay, because some of you are struggling with that. We covered Git conceptually, and we initialized a Git repository on our local project. We went ahead and staged our changes and created a commit. We created our GitHub account. Where we had some little issue was the authentication, okay? Because GitHub no longer allows username password authentication from your local to the remote, okay? So like I said, that part, I will do my best to work it out. Once I've worked it out, I will shoot a quick video. That one won't be live, and I will post it in the Slack, okay? Bash scripting, we don't have time. We don't have time. I will have to cover that one later. Okay, Bash is a language. It's a computer language, and so Bash scripting is basically programming in Bash. Okay, but we don't have time for that because our time is fast spent. Thank you for coming to the live. Let me see. Can some people, whoever is in the chat, go ahead and comment? Let me know how you found things. Let me know if you are disappointed that I couldn't get the authentication to work. That's fine. You can tell me. You can tell me, Mama, I was disappointed. You couldn't get it to work. That's okay. I'll do my best to. I don't want to spin my wheels, on the live. So I will figure it out, and I will be sure to post a quick video showing how I figured it out. Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end it there. Like I said, if you have questions, ask me in the Slack. Okay. I'll do my best to address it. Whatever you're learning in ALX, it may not be exactly as I demonstrated because I don't have. So I'm coming from a general perspective, but I really believe that this can help you, okay, as you continue, at least with the Git and the GitHub part, okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the live here. Thank you for all of you that were able to join. Thank you. If anybody asks, this is recorded on YouTube. So it's, the video is going to be available after I end the live. All right. So I'll see you all on Slack. Thank you so much for coming out. All right. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you on Slack. Bye-bye.